Welcome students. My name is Ms. Ambika Dias, Assistant Professor in the Department of Economics of Government College of Arts, Science and Commerce, Kepe, Goa. The topic that I am going to explain to you all today is Law of Supply. The outline of this e-module include meaning of the law of supply, assumptions to the law of supply, explanation of the law of supply with the help of a schedule and a diagram, and exceptions to the law of supply. Learning outcomes. At the end of this e-module, students will be able to understand the concept of the law of supply, and secondly, the students will be able to relate the concept of law of supply in their real life situations. So to start with, we will see the meaning of the law of supply. So according to the law of supply, other things remaining the same, as the price of the commodity increases, its supply also increases, and as the price of the commodity decreases, its supply also decreases. So in other words, it means that higher the price, higher will be the supply of the commodity, and lower the price, lower will be the supply of the commodity. So based on this statement, we can say that there is a direct relationship between the change in the price of a commodity and the supply of that particular commodity. Next we move to the assumptions to the law of supply. So as far as the assumptions to the law of supply are concerned, the first assumption is no change in the income. So the law of supply assumes that there should not be any change in the income of the purchaser as well as of the seller. Next we move to the assumptions to the law of supply. So the first assumption to the law of supply is no change in the income. The law of supply assumes that there should not be any change in the income of the buyer as well as of the seller. The second assumption to the law of supply is no change in the technique of production. Now the law of supply assumes that there should not be any change in the technique of production, and this is essential so that the cost of production remains constant. Because with the improvement in the technique, the cost of production will automatically come down, and in such situations, the seller will be in a position to supply more commodities even at lower prices. And because of this, there should not be any change in the technique of production. The third assumption to the law of supply is cost of production is unchanged. Now, as far as the law of supply is concerned, the price of the commodity is allowed to change, but the cost of production should remain constant or unchanged. Because if the cost of production increases with the rise in its price, then the sellers will not find it worthwhile to expand or to produce more supply or more products in the economy. The next assumption to the law of supply is no change in the transport cost. Now this is because, take for example, the transport cost decreases. So if the transport cost decreases, the cost of production will also decrease, and it will allow the sellers to sell more even at lower prices. The next assumption to the law of supply is fixed scale of production. So the law of supply assumes that the scale of production needs to be fixed, because if this scale of production changes, the supply will also change irrespective of the changes in the prices of the commodity. Next assumption is government policies are unchanged. Now, as far as the government policies are concerned, we are talking about policies like the taxation policy of the government, the trading policies of the government. So, the law of supply assumes that these policies of the governments needs to be unchanged, because say for example, a fresh excise duty is levied. So, in this case, the cost of production will increase. Or take another example where you impose a quota on the imports of products, or say for example on the raw materials. So, in such situations, the sellers will not be motivated to expand or to produce more at current prices. The last assumption to the law of supply is no speculation. Now, the sellers are not allowed to speculate any changes in the prices in the future, because take for example, the sellers assume that in the future the prices are going to increase. So, if they speculate that in the future the prices of the commodity will increase, at current market prices they will not want to sell more, or they will not want to produce more and supply in the market. So, next we move to the explanation to the law of supply. So, the law of supply can be explained with the help of a schedule and with the help of a diagram. So, students, if you look at the schedule here, we are taking the example of a fountain pen. So, in the schedule you will see the price of the fountain pen in rupees and the quantity supplied per week. So, when the price of the fountain pen is rupees 10, the quantity supplied per week is also 10. When the price of the fountain pen increases from rupees 10 to rupees 20, the quantity supplied per week also increases from 10 to 20, and it goes on. We look at the diagram now. So, as you all can see on the diagram, on the x-axis the quantity supplied is shown, and on the y-axis the price is shown. SS indicates the supply curve. So, when the price of the pen is 10, the quantity supplied is also 10. When the price is 20, the quantity supplied is also 20, and when the price further increases to 30, the quantity supplied also increases to 30. So, as far as the schedule and the diagram is concerned, we know that there is a direct relationship between the change in the price and the quantity supplied. That is, as the price increases, the quantity supplied will also increase, and as the price decreases, the quantity supplied will also decrease. So, with this diagram, we can say that the law of supply holds true. Lastly, we will see the exceptions to the law of supply. So, the first exception to the law of supply is exceptions about future prices. So, if suppose the seller assumes that in the future the prices are going to increase. So, in such situation, the seller will try to withhold his stock of commodities and not supply at current prices. And on the other hand, if the seller assumes that in the future the prices are going to fall. So, in this situation, the seller will try to dispose of his current stock of commodities even at lower prices. The next exceptions to the law of supply is supply of labor. Now, as far as the supply of labor is concerned, it is said that the supply of labor declines after a certain point, and this point is when a certain wage rate is given to the laborer. Now, this whole situation occurs because workers usually prefer leisure once they have received a particular wage rate. Thank you.